Ramo. I'm Vice President of Marketing Communications at Sysco. And I have to say, we are thrilled and ecstatic to again be the conference networking partner this year. We want to be able to celebrate like we do every year here with the Massachusetts Conference of Women. Personally, I have to tell you, this is probably one of my favorite time of the year. It's an opportunity for me to be here for the third year in a row. I love seeing all the successful women, and there's a few men here, very confident, secure men if they're here. I love hearing about the success and the fact that they pay it forward. I personally take this time today to use as an opportunity to meet new people, to listen, to learn, and candidly, my present is to put an action plan for me for the coming year. So at Sysco, we do have a vision of unleashing the full power of people's potential and to expand our view of diversity. We value and embrace a broad spectrum of backgrounds, everything from cultures, affiliations, abilities, work styles, and perspectives. Over 12 years ago, when I joined Sysco, I very quickly learned it is a learning culture. We don't have all the answers. There's so much that we can learn. We also want to ensure that each person fulfills their passion and brings their best selves to work. We also know that different perspectives and backgrounds, approaches, they inspire people to be the best. And in turn, we can live in a greater world. The result of our highly engaged workforce in a global environment is that we work together to foster innovative thinking so that we can solve real-world problems and make the world a better place. I have to say, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce a woman who probably doesn't need an introduction. But for those one or two people that don't know her, she entered the fashion industry in 1972 with a suitcase full of jersey dresses. 2 years later, she created the wrap dress, which came to symbolize power and independence for an entire generation of women. In 1976, she sold over 1 million dresses. 1 million. I have about 500,000 in my wardrobe. And she was also featured in the cover of Newsweek. Since then, Diane Von Furstenberg's business has expanded a full collection of ready-to-wear accessories, including shoes, handbags, small leather goods, scarves, and jewelry. The company also offers luggage, eyewear, and home furnishings. Wow. DVF is now in over 55 countries. But no, there's more. Diane's commitment to empowering women is expressed not only through fashion, but also through her philanthropic work and her mentoring. She sits on the board of Vital Voices, a non-governmental agency that supports female leaders and entrepreneurs around the world. In 2010, with the Diane Von Furstenberg Foundation, she established the DVF Awards, which provide grants to women who display leadership, courage, and strength for causes they believe in. In 2014, Diane published her memoir, The Woman I Wanted to Be. And now, she's the woman we want to hear from, Diane Von Furstenberg.
What a huge crowd! I had last night. I went to Providence and had a sleepover with my granddaughter, who is at Dresden, and I told her I was going to speak to 12,000 people. This is an extraordinary crowd, an extraordinary conference at an extraordinary moment. What is happening to women now is really quite something. And I think it is very important for each one of us to share our experience and to support one another. And feminism is fashionable again. How about that? So I will take you, imagine 1944 in occupied Belgium. A young girl, aged 22, is arrested in a house of resistance. She's taken to interrogation, and she's so afraid to be interrogated and tortured in order to reveal information that she says, "I'm Jewish." And the woman who was interrogating her said, "Don't say you're Jewish because that won't be good." But she did, and as a result, she got shipped to Auschwitz. She went in a slave labor. She went to Auschwitz, and as the war was, ending, she was pushed through the death march into another camp, Ravensbrück, and then yet another camp. For 13 months, she was in concentration camp. In June 1945, one morning the German disappeared, and the Russian came, and the Russian raped them, and then they disappeared, and then came the American. They were put in a hospital. She weighed 49 pounds, which is less than her bones. She did survive, however, and when she filled the questionnaire that she had to do to identify herself, she wrote her name, her last name, her address in Belgium, and then they say state of health. And even though she could not move, and even though she was 49 pounds, she wrote excellent health. And that is what she survived. She survived, she went back to Belgium. Her mother couldn't believe she came back. She fed her every 10 minutes, a little bit, and regained her weight. Her fiancé came from Switzerland. They got married, and the doctor said, "It's okay to get married, but you can absolutely not have a child, because you won't make it and the child won't be normal." Well, sure enough, 9 months later, I was born, and I was not normal. I'm sorry, I was supposed to do this. Yes. So my mother taught me that fear was not an option. If I was afraid of the dark, she put me in the dark closet. She'd probably go to jail now. But after 10 minutes, you are in the dark. First of all, it's no longer dark. And then after that, you realize that there's no reason to be afraid of the dark. My mother used to say to me, "God saved me so that I could give you life. By giving you life, you gave me my life back. You are my torch of freedom." And this is what I was raised with, this torch of freedom. I grew up in Belgium, a little Belgian girl, little Jewish Belgian girl with curly hair, amongst all blonde girls with very straight hair. And I read a lot, my books were help to me, and my diaries. As soon as I could write, I wrote my diary, and I did that all my life, and because of that, I never went into therapy. But one thing I remember when I was a young girl is my mother in her room had a big vanity, a beautiful mirror, a big vanity. And I used to spend hours in front of the mirror. Not because I thought I was beautiful, because I was so different than everybody else, but because I realized that if I would make faces, the mirror would make faces. If I would smile, she would smile. If I would pull my tongue out, she would pull my tongue out. And that's the day, that's the moment that I realized how much control I had over myself. And therefore, one of the big advice I can give anyone is that we must know that the most important relationship is the one we have with yourself. Because if you have that, any other relation is a plus and not a must. And, well, so that was. So, I very much, oh, where's the time? Okay, that's good. I very much wanted to be independent. For me, the most important thing was to be independent. I went to boarding school very early. I then went to Switzerland in university. I met my boyfriend there. He was a prince. He was called Diane Von Furstenberg. He was very handsome. And, but I really had to become independent. I didn't finish university. I went to Paris. I worked for a photographer's agent, which was the first approach, the first thing I had with fashion. I understood about all the things that, from models to photographers to advertising agency, the whole business of fashion as far as the image. I then met an Italian man, and he said, I have a factory, you should come to Italy, I will teach you the other side of fashion. So I went to work with him. I didn't really work with him. I was an intern, so to speak. All I did was really listening to him, screaming at everybody. And even though I didn't think I was doing anything, I didn't think I was learning anything, every single thing I watched in that factory, I learned and put to use. Because one of the things that I want to say to young girls who are at the beginning of their career, when you start, when you finish college, when you take your first job, or even later, you never know which is going to be your doors. There are so many doors out there, and it's not necessarily the most glamorous door who will end up, in my case, it certainly was not a glamorous door, and yet it gave me a very glamorous life. So it's very important to be very aware and very sensitive to every opportunity. And nothing is too small. Nothing is, you should be curious, you should listen. Anyway, so I pushed that door and I ended up in this factory of Angelo Ferretti, and he had a printing factory, which means that he was printing scarves for Gucci, Ferragamo, and all these people. And I learned about how you buy illustration, how you put illustration in repeat and turn, and then how you work with colorists. And all the workers there, all the colorists in Italy, their father was a colorist, their grandfather was a colorist. They weren't just workers, they were artists. So I learned about how to balance a color palette, how to, what is pigment, what colors go with that. And so that was the printing factory. This man was doing very well, and there was a factory next door that was for sale. And in that factory, and the reason it was for sale is because they used to make silk stockings, but the pantyhose had just happened, and therefore nobody wanted silk stockings anymore. So they sold the walls and the factory, and the guy went into this factory to expand his printing mill. But he looked at it and he said, what about all these machines? What can I do with all these machines? And use them. So he called the young factories, and anyway, to make a story short, he used this machine and discovered what is now called the jersey fabric, which is like a knit fabric. Okay, so printing, knit fabric. He then bought another factory that had very thin needles because they used to make nylon nightgowns. And all of this, I was there at that time. My mother, for my birthday, gave me a ticket to go to New York and to visit my boyfriend. And I came to New York and I visited my boyfriend. And of course, he was a very young, attractive aristocrat in New York City. So you can imagine, every girl wanted him. And they did not like that his girlfriend arrived all of a sudden. But all the young designers at the time, like Halston and Giorgio Sant'Angelo, gave me clothes to wear, and then I went back. I stayed there 3 weeks, and then I went back to Italy, and I thought, how am I going to get back to America? How am I going to be independent? And when I went back to the factory, all of a sudden I looked at all these factories and I thought, maybe I could use this. Maybe I can actually make something. And I started to make clothes with a pattern maker and, hiding on a corner and so on. My boyfriend came, I'm rushing because I have so much to tell you. So my boyfriend came back and he visited me in Rome. He gave me a ring. He said, one day we'll get married, and then he went off to Asia. And I didn't really think about that so much. And anyway, to make the story short, I got pregnant. So this is a terrible thing. This is absolutely a terrible thing. I want so much to be independent, and here I am pregnant in the most eligible aristocrat man in Italy. It can't be. So I went to Switzerland. I talked to my mother. I can't have that child, this and that. She said, well, you are engaged, so you have to let him know. Anyway, I got a telegram. None of you know what a telegram is anymore. But when the telegram said, planned wedding mid-July. And mid-July, I got married. And so that was, oh my God, I don't know where I am. Design your life. Design your life. Okay. So, first dresses. I come to America and I had my first dresses, and this is, by the way, the rest you can read in my book. I'm just going to try to make it very quick. But the interesting thing is that I went around with that little dress and I traveled America, and that little dress was selling. Everybody bought that beautiful little simple dress that was both sexy and easy and practical. Somebody said that it's the perfect dress that you could get a man in and his mother doesn't mind. And so the more I was getting confident, the more I was getting confident, the more I was selling confidence. And all of a sudden I had this incredible dialogue with women that happened. So it was like I was doing social media before there was social media. And it was also an incredible time because it was the time of women's liberation and feminism, and Gloria Steinem was my hero, and I was happy, and I wink at my image and smile at my shadow, and I enjoy the ride. But life is not just about high and success. It has a lot of failures along the way. You have failures, you have diseases. I went through 2 cancers. All of these things happen, and that is what women go through. And that leads me also to what is happening to women today. And when I was very young, it was very fashionable to be feminist, and then it stopped being so fashionable. And now all of a sudden it's so fashionable again. And there's this wave and this harassment and everything. And it's so exciting because my generation, I just assume that a woman has her period every month and constantly gets groped. That was just the routine. That was just the routine. We just used to it. That's what happened. And you defend yourself, because it was an abuse of power. So you do it one way, you push, you do whatever. But I was lucky because I only had bosses until I was 22. I did not have boss afterwards. And I was part of the fashion business. But what about the girls who have serious bosses that control their lives, that they have, pay for their children's education? And what about, why are they so delusional that they think that if they touch your tits every time they go by, they think it's a compliment? Women are not neat. So this is a very great great time for women, and it's very exciting. Another thing I would like, but you know, one thing I have to tell you, and Gloria Steinem and I were speaking in the back, I said, you know, I don't always practice what I preach, do you? I'm asking Gloria Steinem, and she said, are you kidding? And so this is the thing that when I feel low, this is what I remind myself. If you doubt your power, you give power to your doubts. And this is really, really an important thing to remember. Okay, well, I went very fast. I still have 3 minutes, 44 seconds. All right. Well, so here I am at 70 years old. I can't believe I'm 70, but I am. And, you think that's bad. Wait until you see Gloria Steinem, how she looks and how old she is. In any case, it is an exciting time for women, and it is an exciting time for me in my life. Because for my last act, for the third act of my life, I really want to focus, because when you are successful, two things happen. You can pay your bills and you have a voice. And when you have a voice, it is so important to use your voice. So my goal is for the rest of my life to be able to use my voice, to use the voice of the people that I know who have a voice, and invite people who have a smaller voice or not yet a voice or no voice at all, and join in this and weave our experience, our support, our need, our compassion, our love, our desires, our aspirations, our frustration, and weave it all into a fabric of impact. And that is my dream. And for that, I will be creating a platform called DVF Voices that you can actually register in and say you're interested and tell me what you're interested in. That will happen next year. But all I beg you all to do is we all have a voice, and we have to use our voice, because no longer we will stand for women having no voice. Wow. Thank you very much.